Now, with its lava fields, volcanoes, and geothermal springs, Iceland's dramatic landscape is legendary. There are tons of good reasons to move to Iceland, being one of the most happiest countries in the world. Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue, and today's topic would be on the 8 best reasons to retire to Iceland. Just as a disclaimer, the information provided is a general guide and to be used for educational purposes only. Now, if you're considering relocating to Iceland, you're not alone. The country has actually become a popular choice for tourists and expats alike in recent years, and there are lots of things attracting people to this northern haven. While moving to Iceland isn't easy, most actually find it worthwhile. Iceland is a gorgeous country with friendly locals and a lifestyle that prioritizes well-being and relationships. So let's quickly jump into the 8 best reasons to retire to Iceland, coming now. Number 1. Culture in Iceland. Now, Iceland is a Nordic island country in the North Atlantic in the area of 103,000 kilometers, which covers roughly the same area as the US state of Kentucky. Now, Reykjavik in the southwest of the country would be its capital that holds over 2/3 of the population. Now, this small population makes for a largely rural country in a capital city which feels like a really big small town. Now, today many call it the land of fire and ice and has become a tourism hotspot for good reason, with features that you won't find anywhere else in the world. The glaciers, as beautiful as they are, actually make up 11% of its land surface. But there's far more to Iceland than just the nature. Icelandic culture is just as diverse as the landscape. Icelanders are proud that they still speak the ancient language of the Vikings. But of course, this doesn't mean they completely live in the past, although there are Viking celebrations all over the island. Some actually say they're stuck between the new and the old world. Icelandic culture is a mishmash of Western Europe and Scandinavian mixed with a few North American influences. The language and culture of Iceland were predominantly Scandinavian, but there are traces of Celtic influence in some of the ancient pottery, in some personal names, and in the appearance of present-day Icelanders. While they are very close to Danish and Norwegian, the Icelandic language remains totally unique. Unlike other languages that have changed drastically over the centuries, Icelandic remains very close to its original roots. The Bible, as an example, from the early 1500s, can still easily be read by Icelanders today. Now, according to the ancient history books, Iceland began in 874 AD when the Norwegian Vikings made their first permanent settlement on the island. The Vikings were the ones who actually gave both Iceland and Greenland their names. They purposely misnamed them both so that their enemies would hopefully go to ice-covered Greenland instead of following them to where they actually settled in Iceland. And a majority of Icelanders also believe in the existence of fantastical beings such as elves and trolls. There's actually many amusing stories and legends about these creatures. Number 2. Where to live in Iceland. Reykjavik. Now, there's only one place that counts as a city in Icelandic, and that's Reykjavik. The rest of the population actually lives in towns. As mentioned earlier, it's where 2/3 of the population lives. And when many think of where to live in Iceland, they think of Reykjavik, which is a great base. It's the capital and the largest city and home to fewer than 130,000 people. It's also right on the coastline and is known for being lively, especially during the long summer nights when the sun doesn't set. It's also the best place to come if you want to check out Iceland's music scene as well. Now, the city has a great social scene and nightlife with lots of bars, restaurants, and clubs to choose from, and many actually open until 5 a.m. in the morning. Many of the bars in Reykjavik have their own unique atmosphere with all kinds of events taking place throughout the week. But there's also an abundance of quiet, relaxed places as well. And with this all, you also have the incredible mountains surrounding you in this city as well. And this city is packed with metropolitan delights and is especially strong in the performance arts, from film to theater and dance. Akureyri. Now, this town with a population of around 18,000 is known for its beauty of both the town itself and its natural surroundings. The town has great outdoor activities, especially if you like skiing. Now, there's a number of interesting cultural and historical museums in the center, a botanical garden, concerts, festivals, and exhibitions as well. You'll find some of the most beautiful mountainscapes that Iceland has to offer. There's also a number of shops lined up as you wander through the small town. Now, it's not overflowing with job prospects, but there's still decent diversity for such a small town. Hafnarfjordur. This is an ideal town that has a charming downtown area of every delight. The Christmas market is an attraction, and there are streets that wind around up hills and around towns where you'll find lava rocks, botanical gardens, libraries, and places to just sit by the water. Now, there's several nice restaurants, and there's also well-maintained and landscape-paved walkways where you can walk along the sea. It's also close to the capital of Reykjavik, but absent the tourist and tourist traps, the noise. People seem generally friendlier, and it's also considerably less expensive for the space you get. Number 3, food in Iceland. Now, Icelandic food is not widely known compared to its natural landscape its beauty offers. But with time and skill by infusing their ingredients into the local foods, it's actually slowly gaining a reputation. Lamb. Icelanders love the meat of lamb and sheep. The meat is actually more readily available than beef. They are roasted or made into hearty stew. It's served a variety of ways all around Iceland as well, sometimes stewed with root vegetables or roasted with spiced gravy. The slow roasted lamb is preferred by the majority Icelanders, and there's even smoked sheep's head if you'd like to try. The sheep actually roam around the hills without fences and drink water from glacier rivers and eat plants and berries. They say that they marinate themselves naturally with their free-range diets. Smoked Iceland puffin, Lundi. Now, this is a local delicacy. The dark meat is often described as tender, gamey, and slightly fishy. The world's largest puffin colony resides in Iceland, and a funny-looking bird has provided nourishment to the people of Iceland since the times of the Vikings. But puffins are considered by most groups to be an endangered species. While it's still legal to hunt and serve Lundi, many are fine not eating the delicacy. Hot dogs. The hot dog is very popular, unlike the hot dogs in the United States. They're actually made with a blend of lamb, pork, and beef and have natural casings. And they actually serve some of the best hot dogs made from a blend of these meats. It's the toppings that makes the Icelandic hot dog from ordinary to extraordinary. By ordering the works means it will be covered with ketchup, sweet mustard, fried onions, raw onions, and a special sauce with a mixture of mayo and sweet relish. Number 4, things to do in Iceland. Whale watching tour. Now, you might think that you need to be far away from civilization to see whales, but actually it's close by. It's often nicknamed the whale watching capital of Europe. Whale watching tours could be enjoyed either on larger vessels or smaller powerboats. But they say the bigger boats means for larger tour groups that rely on tracking technology, so you're almost ensured that you'll see a whale. The smaller boats means they're smaller groups, but the powerboat operators are able to actually get closer to the animals themselves as their motors make far less noise. You'll see a lot of minke whales and humpback whales and some rare animals as well, such as killer whales and fin whales. But over 20 species of whale could be found in Iceland's waters, making it a top destination for whale watching. Now, there's also the Blue Lagoon that sits within incredible nature. And this would be Iceland's most famous geothermal spa because of its healing silica mud and warm and soothing water. The water is actually opaque, milky blue, unlike anything else found on Earth. It's actually hot with rich minerals with lots of good bacteria, but the water and mass provided have granted the lagoon a reputation for healing. You can also go glacier hiking and ice caving as well. Iceland is a land that is well known for its frozen landscapes, a country of floating icebergs, sweeping glacier tongues, and dazzling blue glacier ice caves. Interesting enough, it's surprisingly temperate and mild, at least during the warm days of the summer. Now, entering one of the country's blue ice caves is an ultimate experience, only accessible in the winter months. But the glaciers are frozen attractions that are accessible to explore throughout the year. You can see these mighty giants up close and even hike across the ice caps themselves. Number 5. Cost of living in Iceland. Now, unless you're swimming in cash, retiring comfortably in Iceland will require a solid economic strategy. Now, people don't come to Iceland for its low cost of living. But you might ask why the cost of living in Iceland is so high. Well, it's partially due to its location. Because Iceland is so geographically isolated, it's more expensive to import products, meaning the prices for customers goes up as a result. Also, not a lot of its own products are manufactured compared to larger countries. And as for food, the cold climate limits what fresh produce it could grow there, such as fruit and vegetables. So a lot of the food must be imported into the country. A meal at an inexpensive restaurant is $19, between $12 and $27 USD. A meal for 2 people at a mid-range restaurant for a 3-course meal would be $116, between $77 and $171 USD. Utilities for a small apartment would be $96, between $54 and $155 USD per month. The internet would be $65, between $53 and $93 USD per month. A fitness club per month would be $58, between $46 and $93 USD per month. A cinema would be $12, between $11 and $15 USD. An apartment 1-bedroom in city center would be $1,540, between $1,169 and $1,949 USD per month. An apartment 1-bedroom outside a city center would be $1,268, between $935 and $1,746 USD per month. An apartment 3 bedrooms in city center would be $2,507, between $2,026 and $3,508 USD per month. An apartment 3 bedrooms outside a city center would be $2,061, between $1,754 and $2,494 USD per month. So the cost of buying or renting a home in Iceland is pretty high. The housing and rental markets are very competitive at the moment as well. And the large tourists and expats coming in recent years has dramatically increased demand for accommodation, driving up Iceland's prices accordingly. Most Icelanders do prefer buying a place rather than renting, and about 80% of property in Iceland is privately owned. And as a result, the rental market is rather small, making the apartment search even more difficult. Rent is also considerably higher in Reykjavik as well than smaller towns or villages. But compared to other northern European countries, utilities are fairly affordable. Thanks to all the natural wonders in Iceland, notably volcanoes and geysers, the country harnesses a lot of its energy from geothermal sources and hydropower. In fact, 85% of Iceland's energy comes from clean, renewable sources. And fortunately, eating at home could be much more affordable as well. Now, there are some fresh produce and bread that are reasonably priced, but meats and dairy products can quickly make your grocery bill soar. And taxes are also relatively high in Iceland as well. There's a high 24% VAT rates that increase the price of products and food, although VAT on food is much lower than on other products. And since income tax is also high, this drives up the cost of labor, which also has to be made up for by increased prices in many situations. Number 6, buy property in Iceland. Now, straight off, it's worth noting that if considering buying real estate as a private individual, then you would either need to be an Icelandic citizen or have legal residence in Iceland. And this is in the same terms of companies, both with limited and unlimited liability. It's again either Icelandic citizenship or an individual who's lived in Iceland for at least 5 years. And for corporations, 4/5 of the share capital must be owned by Icelandic citizens. Now, Icelanders do their best to protect their land and estates from being owned by outsiders. And that's good because it's not a big country after all. But we mentioned earlier that the housing market is competitive. But how much would it actually cost you to buy your own home in Iceland? But looking at the figures over Numbeo, the price of buying an apartment in the city center of Reykjavik on average is 45 million ISK or 350,000 USD. But of course, it would depend on where you buy your home. It would definitely be cheaper in more rural towns and villages. But there is still a strong property market, and there's about 130,000 residential units in the country. So it's possible for many families and individuals, expats and locals to buy homes still. Now it does go into much more further detail that is all publicly available to review, but keep in mind that when buying a home, the procedures would depend on where you come from. If you're a buyer who comes from a country which is a member of the European Economic Area, then you can gain property rights, but with the rules also mentioned earlier. But for those from non-EAA countries, they must seek permission and have it granted from the minister. Number 7. Healthcare in Iceland. Now, Icelanders are amongst the healthiest people in the world, and it's reflected in the low infant mortality rate and the high life expectancy. Iceland gets high marks for its comprehensive public health system. In fact, it has one of the longest life expectancies in Europe at 82.5 years. It's not only the low pollution that's to thank for this, but it's also the well-organized healthcare system. In Iceland, the number of medical staff per person is higher than anywhere else in the world. Now, Iceland also has universal healthcare. The healthcare system is largely paid for by taxes, 85%, and to some extent by service fees, 15%, and is administered by the Ministry of Welfare. A considerable portion of government spending is also assigned to healthcare as well. And there's almost no private health insurance in Iceland and no private hospitals as well. In order to automatically receive coverage, expats need to register and have lived in Iceland for at least 6 months, while employed expats are eligible for virtually free public health services after 6 months. It's a bit trickier for retirees. The worst case scenario would be of paying out of pocket. A daytime doctor's visit actually costs less than $50. Number 8. How to live in Iceland. Now, Iceland belongs to the Schengen region. This allows citizens of the EU, EEA, and some other countries to travel to Iceland without a visa. So visiting Iceland is not a problem for anyone from a Schengen country. You just enjoy your 90 days visa free. And if that's not long enough for you, the next step would be in moving there, but with a lot of paperwork. Now, the process for Iceland immigration for citizens of countries outside of the European Economic Area can take some time and work, but there are 3 main ways you can get a residence permit. And the first way would be to study, and this would be one of the easier but slightly less long-term ways to get a residence permit, just by applying for a student residency permit. And this permit applies to anyone who has been accepted to a university in Iceland. There's also marriage as well, if you marry an Icelander or find yourself a long-term live-in partner. Now, marriage isn't the easiest route, but it's probably one of the more foolproof ways to build a life in Iceland. There's also the family reunification to live and work as well. And of course, there's work. If you fall into one of the following classes, it may be possible to live there as well. You can work as a qualified professional, a special position like a professor or doctor, but basically you can try finding a job that can't be filled by a native Icelander. Immigrants from the EEA or EFTA countries are allowed to stay in Iceland without registering for residency for up to 3 months, or up to 6 months if actively seeking employment. Now, if you're looking to stay longer, you'll need a 10-digit personal identification number or a kennitala. You can actually apply for one at a registrations office. The process could take up to 9 weeks. Now, people usually apply for a kennitala as soon as they arrive in Iceland. All citizens and foreign residents in Iceland receive a kennitala, a national ID number used to keep track of your taxes, healthcare, social benefits, and much more. It's like an all-powerful social security number. The assigned number is the key to all of life's doors in Iceland, and you actually need one to get a job, open a bank account, or rent a place to live. But everyone who has been a legal resident in Iceland for 6 months automatically becomes a member of the Icelandic social insurance system, regardless of nationality. EEA citizens, however, can transfer their health insurance to Iceland from the day their legal residence is registered in Iceland. Now, this is the bonus section for those that have reached all the way here. Here are some of the pros and cons of moving to Iceland, starting with the pros. Now, the first pro would be the free electricity and energy. Iceland is the world's leader in harnessing clean and cheap energy from the geothermal power stations. It's also a safe place. Iceland is a very peaceful country, and you don't have to worry about any conflicts or feel in any danger. There's a low crime rate in the country. The country doesn't even have a standing army, and most police officers don't even carry guns. The majority of incidents involve theft and pickpocketing, occurring mostly in major tourist attractions where visitors are perceived as easy targets. It also has a beautiful landscape. Iceland is good looking with various islands, east fjords, erupting geysers, geothermal pools, and other natural attraction sites that attracts people from all over the world to this country. The language. English and Danish language are included in the education system, thus making it easy for Icelanders to use both languages. While Icelandic is the official language, approximately 98% of Icelanders speak English fluently. Equality. Iceland is rated one of the best countries for gender equality in the world, which makes it a great place to work, making it one of the world's best places to work as a woman, where high education, healthcare, and equality comes first. Women are strongly represented in managerial positions, boards, and parliament. Expat community. Now, there's also a thriving expat community. More and more international visitors are visiting each year, and many of them are deciding to stay or come back to build a life for themselves. Now let's talk about the cons. Dark in winter. During winter, there's a lot of darkness because the sun doesn't come out for the better part of the day. Many people turn back from Iceland because they can't handle the weather and the long hours of darkness during the winter season. This is something that you can prepare for both mentally and physically. The weather. Weather in Iceland is known for being cold, rainy, and occasionally snowy. The days in winter are super short and temperatures reach freezing levels daily. But summer days are very long and temperatures are 15 degrees on average. The high cost of living. Now, Iceland relies mostly on imports, increasing the prices of commodities. And there's also frequent earthquakes and threats of volcanic eruptions as well. And there's not as many options in careers or job markets. There are strict immigration rules that are stiff rules on moving to Iceland, especially if moving from United States. The rules are actually much easier if moving from Europe to come and live in the country. And there's probably no jobs for North Americans. Like mentioned earlier, if you're coming from Europe, you can live and work with no complications. If you're coming from United States or other continents, it's going to be much more difficult. No forests. Much of the country was carved out by slow-moving glaciers, chewing up the land and gouging deep valleys into it. When the Vikings arrived, they forested, cutting down almost all the native trees in the country. But reforestation is actually happening, but it still lacks of forests. And here are a few more to note. Online shopping isn't that great as well, and it takes forever to get things. Gasoline is also expensive, and there's not a lot of concerts from the outside. There's also less American franchises, and there's not a lot of theme parks as well. Well, tell me what you think of living in Iceland in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. Be free, gain wealth, and travel far.